We're here in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's Sunday, September 21st. And your name is?
My name is George Weisz.
And tell us about your coming to Arizona.
Well, I came to Arizona actually in 1969 to go to the University of Arizona. And I came from Skokie, Illinois, where I grew up, which was just north of Chicago. And actually at one time had more Holocaust survivors per capita than anywhere else in the United States. In fact, you really learned about the Holocaust not from books or movies, but by actually from your neighbors who had tattoos and numbers branded into their arms. Pretty amazing experience. Came out to go to the University of Arizona, where I became an AEPI, and including serving as house father down there, as spent 7 years down there getting my bachelor's and master's. And I came out because my dad had come to Arizona quite a bit. My dad was president and CEO of Motorola, and later its chairman, and Motorola was expanding out here in Arizona and really led the high-tech way for technology and other industries to come here that really helped Arizona grow, especially the Phoenix area. And they were the largest employer in the state in its heyday. And really very proud of the decisions he made and what he did for the economy of Arizona. Got involved with government, public service. Actually, starting in about 1977, started my public service career and became a special agent for the Attorney General's office, working organized crime intelligence, served as a legislator, a member of the Arizona House of Representatives, Deputy Chief of Staff for Governor Hull, a policy advisor for Governor Napolitano, and currently serve as a senior assistant to Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon, Jewish mayor of what is now the 5th largest city in the country. I've been very involved with a number of political issues, obviously in the state, having served as a legislator and being involved with a number of government officials, and it's really been an honor and privilege to work alongside people who had energy and vision and really tenacity to really do great things for our city and state as we grow, being one of the fastest growing states. I've been very involved with a number of Jewish organizations, been involved with the board of ADL for about 28 years, 28, 29 years. A phenomenal organization. There was one of our greatest philanthropists in Phoenix was a guy named Jerry Wysotsky. In fact, the highest award you get from ADL is called the Jerry Wysotsky Torch of Liberty Award. And just a leader in our community. And what ADL has done to uncover white supremacist, racist activity, anti-Semitic activity is unbelievable. Sadly, we've had a number of sects here in town. We've had skinheads, we've had white supremacists, we've had a number of those that ADL here in Arizona has actually been in the forefront of uncovering throughout the nation. Joel Brescian, who is now an assistant director of ADL, was a director for a long time, and I was working undercover sometimes from the official end while Joel was working undercover from the ADL end, and there was a great cooperative spirit between ADL and law enforcement, because law enforcement could do only so much, whereas ADL was to do what needed to be done was to do exposure and work with the media of showing who these people were. Sadly, one of those things came up during a time when I was in the legislature. I was a freshman member of the Arizona House of Representatives, very excited about being there. I was a Republican from north central Phoenix, and there was a new Republican governor who was just elected at the same time named Ev Meekum. And one of the first things Ev Meekum did was rescind the Martin Luther King holiday. Once he did that, there was a firestorm of reporters who were watching everything he did. There were a number of us watching everything he did. There was really concern about what his real intentions were and his philosophies as governor. He did a lot of good things, but there were a number of things that were concerned for the future of the city and the state. He eventually was impeached. I served as a lead questioner on his impeachment panel. I don't know if they put me there because of my investigative background and they thought I wouldn't be intimidated, but a tough spot for a freshman Republican to be in with a Republican governor. But the thing that always struck with me is you always do the right thing for the right reason, and integrity is the #1 element in anything in public service. So I had a pretty tough task, but it's not a task I enjoyed. And we impeached Governor Meekum. There was also a recall going on, and there was also a criminal case against him for misuse of funds. He was impeached by a trial of the Senate after we in the House did the actual inquiry. And one of the most terrible things for me was some of his supporters who came out. Not all, there were some very good people who supported him in those days. But we had a group that was very anti-Semitic who felt they could now come out of the closet, that somehow they could now had freedom to express their views openly because the leader of government seemed to have some of those views, but not all. It may be even be more a part of ADL and what ADL is all about, especially here in Arizona, which became a leader. There's been one thread, really, that's gone through my whole stay in Arizona since I first came here in college. And it was an event called the Don Bolles murder. And I was a grad student at the University of Arizona working on a thesis on organized crime in Arizona. I'd always planned to be a police officer and got my master's and bachelor's in public administration, working in law enforcement administration. And an event occurred on June 2nd, 1976. It was around high noon in downtown Phoenix. It is an event, a murder of an investigative reporter that will forever leave visions in our minds and imprints on our hearts, where a reporter was killed for just doing his job. And on that hot day, a triple-digit day like is normally the case in Phoenix, a reporter got into his car and started the engine and pulled out of his parking spot in a hotel near downtown Phoenix and was blown out of his car by a dynamite bomb planted underneath the driver's seat. Pretty courageous guy. He was blown out of the car, taken to the hospital, and like he was in his work, he was tenacious and would never give up. And he lived for 11 days. But during that 11 days, he had one arm amputated, a leg amputated, and a second arm amputated before he died. I had known Don Bolles right before then, and we had been working over the phone on my thesis, and actually we were supposed to meet 2 weeks later in person for the first time. And he was such a person concerned about the work he was doing on that he made sure that I would send a letter from my professor to him to make sure who I was before he'd actually meet with me in person. Ironically, I became the chief investigator, a lead agent on the case many years later. And when going through all his materials, I found that letter from me to him that I had sent him when I was a student at the U of A.
Well, it sounds like you have a wealth of history and stories, and we thank you for coming and sharing these with us today.
Well, I appreciate it. It's really been, I've had a great life, and Arizona's made that happen, and it's a place of opportunity, and even Phoenix, the 5th largest city, you don't have to be part of a pioneer family, though we have many. You don't have to be part of a clique. You can just work hard and earn your way and get to positions of leadership in the community, which we have so many leaders from the Jewish community. But I've been honored and privileged to be involved with some great leaders who have great vision, and the Jewish community has really been a great part of that.
And on behalf of the Arizona Jewish Historical Society, thank you for sharing your story with us.